And we're live. We are alive. All right. Good afternoon. Today is Friday, November 20th. And today we're going to talk about all things Apple, including the new Mac, those adorable HomePod minis, and a whole lot more. Because I don't know if you noticed this, but my microphone just fell.
We're going to get
Because
control of our
this
mics.
is the iMore show. It's fun.
We are professionals.
All right, I'm getting it fixed. All right. Okay, let me try that one more time. I'm going to do it a second time just so that Jim doesn't have to worry about cutting things up and stuff. Okay. Good afternoon. Today is Friday, November 20th, and today we are going to talk about HomePod Mini, all the M1 Max, a 15% change in our future, and a whole lot more because this is the iMore Show. Welcome to the show. Joining us today, assistant managing editor of iMore, Joe Keller. Welcome to the show, Joe.
Yo. Good to
Yo,
be here.
Joe. And also joining us this week is iMore Show's expert therapist of anxiety-videos.com, Georgia Dow. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So very, very calm this morning. I'm a little bit
Very
ramped up
calm.
and you're a little bit calm. So we got a good balance. I am Lori Gill, managing editor of the iMore Show. Thank you for joining us today. Let's talk Macs. This has been big in the news for weeks now. Last week, reviewers got them in hand. This week, people are actually having them delivered or able to pick them up in store. There's some big news about this Mac, like not just the numbers that Apple claims, but the reaction in hand to what people are thinking of this thing.
Yeah. People are like real people are finally starting to get their hands on these Macs in the wild, and we're seeing just wild numbers. It's hard to really put into words just what we're seeing here. The change, I think, especially the big one, at least for me, is the MacBook Air, because one, there's no more fan, and two, it's so much more powerful than its immediate predecessor. That is this a joke? Is this some kind of prank?
Yeah. The word on the street is that the MacBook Air and MacBook Pro are so identically matched in terms of their processor ability that it really just comes down to the fan. And the idea is that if you are somebody who uses programs that really push the limits of the processor to the point where it would need to either throttle you down or kick the fan on in order to cool the insides, get the MacBook Pro. Otherwise, get the MacBook Air. So basically, like 95% of us should get the MacBook Air, you know?
Yeah, it's that fan is all about sustained performance, which we couldn't necessarily say with the Intel predecessors, because it's not like the same processors that were in the lower end MacBook Pro, last Monday, were also in the MacBook Air. Those were two different sets of processors, and the MacBook Air also had a fan, a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that fan is the difference. It is. It's about sustaining over a longer period of time that the peak level of performance, because it's like you said, it's the MacBook Air will eventually throttle you because it doesn't have active cooling. It's only passively cooled, so it doesn't want you to get too hot. It's like an iPad.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's a bad idea to compare the MacBook Air to an iPad in that it diminishes the amazing technological advancements of the MacBook Air. But in a way, you're right in that it uses a system on a chip. It allows you to like boost that power because of its own ability to be more efficient. But there will come a point if you're trying to run I don't know, Affinity Photo and Adobe Lightroom all at the same time, or you're trying to like compress video to put it up, a 4K video to put up on YouTube. Eventually on the MacBook Air, there will come a point where it'll say, because I don't have a fan, I am now going to slow everything down to keep things from going crazy. Whereas with the MacBook Pro, when that point is hit, when that threshold is hit, the
Just
fan
ramp up
goes,
the fans.
okay, it's time for me to turn on so that this can continue to happen and not overheat the computer. So
Yeah, and speaking of photo work, I wanted to point out this particular metric that was released earlier this week. So Pixelmator Pro, which
yes.
is my preferred photo editing app on the Mac, they released their new version earlier this week, like a day earlier than they had intended. This is for Pixelmator Pro 2.0, and one of Pixelmator Pro's standout features is this thing called ML super resolution, where it basically uses machine learning to enhance photos. Now it's mostly meant for things like lower resolution, like iPhone photos, and not big DSLR photos. But it's really impressive work. I've used it a lot. It also exists in Pixelmator Photo on the iPad. It's really great. But one of the things that they've pointed out, this latest update is geared not just towards Big Sur, but also the new M1 Max. ML super resolution has a 0.51 second compute time on the M1 Max. To put that in perspective.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So ML super resolution, this is something that I would turn on the external GPU that's connected to my current Mac Mini in order to really take advantage of in any reasonable amount of time. It has a 0.51 second compute time on the new M1 Max.
That's incredible.
And this is specifically the MacBook Air too. This isn't like we're not like kicking on the fan for this.
Yeah.
To put that in some perspective, the 16-inch MacBook Pro from last year has a 2.4 second compute time.
Whoa.
The 2018 13-inch MacBook Air has a 13.7 second compute time.
So 13.7 compared to 0.51?
0.51.
0.51.
0.51 seconds. So just over half a second. And I don't know why they included this particular one, but the 13-inch MacBook Pro from mid-2012 has a 61.6 second compute time.
Well, you know what? That's just silly.
It is just silly.
There are still people who use that computer though, so it's no slight on them that they use that computer. It's just that like the comparison is kind of
now it should be noted there is one Intel Mac that seems to be comparable to the new M1 Max, and it is the iMac Pro from 2017.
So the MacBook Air, in terms of processing power, can be compared to the iMac Pro, not the iMac, the iMac Pro.
Yeah, and one of the things you got to realize about this is, so ML super resolution and features like it in other apps, they take advantage of Apple's Metal framework, so it's really close to the Metal for the graphics chip. So it's not just using the GPU, it's also using the neural engine, which isn't really a thing on Intel.
Yeah, no, I mean it's not a thing.
No, it's not. Yeah. No, it's the people have wondered. I've heard people wonder, like before the M1 was announced, are these custom Mac chips going to have, are they going to bother with the neural engine, or is it going to be a smaller neural engine or a less performant neural engine, because these aren't phones and that really only, it's for like, they think it's for like conserving battery life or whatever on phones, but no, it's for everything on this chip enhances the performance and or battery life, both at the same time, usually on the Mac. And it's just, it's amazing to see. It's kind of astonishing what we've got. And these are the low end ones. These are the low end Macs that have the M1.
That's another insane thing. Like right now we're talking about comparisons to like higher end versions of these things, like the MacBook Pro 16-inch, for example. The MacBook Air, the bottom of the line base model MacBook Air, competing with the 16-inch MacBook Pro of right now. Like if you bought a 16-inch MacBook Pro right now, it's the one that people are comparing it to. And the fact that you can level out those comparisons between the two is pretty incredible, considering the MacBook Air comes in at $1,000 and the MacBook Pro 16-inch is what, 1700 base model,
The
something like that.
16. Hold on. I think it might be more than that. This is
It
the
might even
16.
I don't even remember which one I'm thinking of now.
The
Is it
16-inch
21?
MacBook Pro, I think, starts at $2,400, $2,399
Starting at the price of a computer more.
Yeah.
That's pretty big. That's
For
pretty
the price
big.
of more than two baseline MacBook Airs, you
Right,
can get a
yeah.
16-inch MacBook Pro.
You could get 2 MacBook Airs and 4 HomePod Minis for the price of a 16-inch MacBook Pro that isn't even as good as the MacBook Air that you'd be getting.
I'd take that deal. All 6 of those objects would
Yeah,
serve me well.
yeah. I'm actually I have a M1 chip MacBook Pro that I'm testing out right now for review. I will have a full review later this week or early next week on iMore, and I'm seeing so all of the reviews that we saw earlier this week, it was all from the techie people. It was from the pros. It was from the people who do, video editing all day long, and they're massively impressed with the performance. I'm more of a day-to-day kind of person in terms of what I do. I don't do photo editing or video editing outside of just a little bit here and there for the website, but nothing major, nothing that takes a lot of time. And some of the impressive things for me as somebody who just works on a computer, which I think that's what most people are, it's all about those seconds of the day that are spent waiting for an app to open or load. That doesn't happen. Even on apps that use Rosetta, the difference would be, like on my 2018 MacBook Pro that's my personal laptop is a 2018 MacBook Pro. Not the most current one, but it's pretty current. It's pretty fast. I'll get the bouncing app for 1, 2, 3, pop. There goes the app and it opens up, right? On the M1 chip MacBook Pro, it's like either literally zero bounce, no bounce of the app, it just opens, or maybe you get one bounce. Like if it's an app that's running through Rosetta, you get one bounce before it opens up. And of all the apps I've used so far, I have not used all of them, absolutely not used all of them. I haven't tested out even everything that I do on my daily, because I've only had it for a day, so I haven't even like downloaded and installed all the apps that I use. But everything runs perfect and smooth. It doesn't seem like there's a difference between what's running on Rosetta and what's not running on Rosetta. Once it's open, it's really just like that one bounce, that single bounce while it opens with a Rosetta app versus just literally immediately. How did I even do that? Did I even click on it? That was too fast. Like that's how most of the apps are. The built-in ones, especially from Apple. It's really, really impressive.
So when you go back and use an older MacBook,
yeah,
do you notice it? Is it frustrating now?
I want to throw it in the garbage.
Just walk out of your house and throw it into the ocean.
Yeah, once you move on to something so advanced and so speedy, I've always been like, my MacBook Pro is great. It runs fast. You guys don't know, whatever. This one's great. I mean, that's literally what I thought of the MacBook Pro that came out earlier this year. It was like, there's nothing special about this. Mine runs just as fast. There's no reason to replace it.
It's not that noticeable.
But now, that's completely different. I wish I will flush my MacBook Pro 2018 down the toilet. That's what a difference this newer one makes.
Gonna give it a swirly.
I wasn't, and pull its underwear up over its head. Yeah.
Gonna really high school bully this computer.
Yeah. I was not planning to get a new computer this year, mostly because I'm still waiting for what else Apple is going to bring to the table, because these are the baseline models. But I at this point, for only $1,000, I'll just get the MacBook Air and then get whatever the next big thing is, which is going to be way more expensive and probably going to make me have to move out of my house for. But
iMac.
yeah, but like for $1,000 for the MacBook Air that runs exactly the way this MacBook Pro that I'm reviewing right now, it runs exactly the same way for the kinds of things I do because I don't use heavy processing. Heck yeah, that's totally worth it.
And the battery power. Have
Yeah.
you been able to just use it
Yeah,
and not even?
I have a couple of amazing things to talk about. Again, I like it delivered on today is Friday. It delivered on a Thursday, and I opened the box on Thursday and started just playing around with it Thursday night. And then I used it all day. I'm sorry, I opened the box on Wednesday and played around with it on Wednesday night and then used it all day yesterday. It was the only computer I used for everything that I did yesterday. So I installed a bunch of apps and signed into all of my accounts, and I did a bunch of stuff and made sure that it was like at least ready to go for the job the next day, because there's all these programs that you need to make sure you have on your computer. And I didn't do a direct transfer. I decided to just kind of start from scratch and add my own apps to just like see how hard it is to add the apps in, and see how they work. And then by the end of the night on Wednesday night, I was at 86%. And
Whoa.
I did not. So that wasn't a full day though. That was probably from, let's say, 7 o'clock until 9 o'clock of like just playing around with it. I just did a bunch of stuff and played around and like used a bunch of things, opened a bunch of programs, things like that. And then this is where I thought it was really interesting. I did not plug it in. I purposefully wanted to see how it trickle drains. And by the next morning, when I opened the computer, it was at 83%. And I don't know about you, but I can't leave my Mac laptop unplugged overnight, or it's down to like 35% the next morning, even if it was at 100%. It drains significantly at nighttime. I think I might be exaggerating on that percentage, but point being, it drains a lot even when it's not being used. It just trickle drains quite a bit. So only losing 3%. If you accidentally forgot to plug in your computer the night before, no big deal.
We've all had that moment where you didn't plug it in, you need to use it, and then it just doesn't start. And you're like, what is happening?
And all of a sudden you find your charger evaporated.
Right.
Yeah.
Overheated. Yeah. So then yesterday morning, I got up and I started working and I used that computer all day. So this is meetings in Chrome and, on Google Meet. These are like heavy process, battery hog type things. I purposefully started using some of the things that I know tend to be energy hogs, like Slack and things like that. I have the Slack app on the Mac. It's an energy hog for sure. Safari with 17 tabs open. This is my day to day. This is how I work. So it wasn't abnormal. This is just literally how I do things. And at the end of starting at 83%, at the end of my workday, I was at, I'm trying to remember, 27%. So that was including the, being down by, almost 20% to start with. I was at 27%. And then after my normal workday was over, I decided I would try to like blow this battery to the ground and let's see how long it actually takes to actually run out of battery. At 10 o'clock at night, it was at 7%. And I was just tired of trying to burn the battery all the way to the ground. And during that time period, so that would have been stopping at about 5:30, almost 6 is when I would have stopped like my just normal everyday work. And then then the next thing I did was I opened up 15 tabs in Chrome and I turned on YouTube and Twitter and TikTok on each of these tabs. So all of these tabs were like running video and doing things that were like require a lot of like movement and action and stuff. So I purposefully was like bombarding it with all the kind of things that might normally drain a battery pretty significantly. So it lost 20% during that time period, which would have like blown out my MacBook Pro in 10 minutes using all that kind of stuff. So that's pretty good, pretty significant right there. Yeah. So the 20-hour claim, well, let's see. If I would have started my day like with gusto, I would have started at about 7 a.m. I opened it before then, like at about 6:15, but that was kind of casual between 6 and 7, not really working that hard in it. So 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. And still it was with 7% battery left. That's a full day.
That's amazing.
Serious full
That
day.
is a full day.
And if you're doing like 8-hour days using your computer, like really we're talking about you can not charge it for 2 days and you're probably going to be just fine.
If you only open, work for 8 hours, close, I would say like, just today is another experiment because I will be I started at 100% today. So it'll be like more in line with like how I would start a day. I think it's like a 50% drain for an 8-hour day, like slightly more or slightly less, depending on what you do. So like you're saying 2 days, you could do that in 2 days. You can work for 2 days without plugging it in. Seems pretty legit.
That's pretty astounding.
Yeah.
And I think really helpful for people that, like you want it to just keep on, like, again, you should always plug it in just because.
Well, see, I don't know though, Georgia. Like, here's like something. I don't move around my house very much because I need to keep my computer plugged in. So I don't sit in the backyard and, have the sun on my face. I don't sit at the kitchen table and look at the birds in the trees. I sit on my couch and, just I'm stuck in this spot because I want to keep my computer plugged in for as long as possible. And now I can go anywhere. I can go to the coffee shop and forget my charger, or even better, I know that nobody's going to coffee shops right now, but someday they will be. And I can go, like, that's another pain point that I've had, that I didn't go to the coffee shops very often because they're like the plugs were all being used up. Yeah. So it was frustrating for me. So I just wouldn't go. Now I don't have to worry about bringing a plug. 8 hours, no problem. I can do 8 hours in a coffee shop easily, not have to worry about running out of battery. So these are all
and really, running really some really big programs. So if you're video editing or if you're watching videos, or you could do that and not worry. That's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty exciting. Let's really quickly, is Stephen Polakov? Thank you. I think I got that right. Asked about the M1 chip or future silicon chips being able to run Windows on Parallels. That's big for me. I don't use Boot Camp, just Parallels. So it definitely, so this is virtual machines, and I can't actually say for sure. I'll have to look it up about Parallels, but it does work with virtual machines. So let me see if Parallels has any kind of like official Parallels.
And Lori, the M1 Macs actually don't come with Boot Camp, do they?
No, you can't use Boot Camp right now. That might change, but right now there is no Boot Camp for the M1 chips.
And I know that Apple's talked about virtualization with things like Linux and Docker and that sort of thing. But I think the idea is that Windows is a little ways off. That's the impression that I've been getting since, the announcement back in June. But I would be hard pressed to imagine a future where Apple and Microsoft don't make that work.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it didn't work. It doesn't work now, but I don't think that's going to be a permanent thing. So for anybody who does use Boot Camp, I don't think that your future is bleak. I think it's just going to take a little bit of time. So it's recently been updated, but it from their homepage, it mentions updated for Big Sur, which is good. You want to make sure that you're updated for Big Sur. I don't see anything specific about M1, but any app that runs on a Mac will run on the M1 chip Mac. It's just that there are programs that will be universal, and that means that they are translated to work with Mac with the M1 chip as well as Mac with an Intel chip. And then there's Rosetta, which actually translate the language of an Intel-based program so that it's like translated into an M1 chip Mac. So you're going to be able to use Parallels on an M1 chip Mac no matter what. But I don't think right now they have actually ticked the box to make it the universal one, which means that it will translate through Rosetta. But I bet they'll have an update for that soon, because from what I understand, it's very, very easy to turn your Intel-based Mac app into a universal-based app Mac. So it's pretty easy. All right. So big news on the Mac. Let's talk HomePod minis real quick.
Yeah, I want to
I've
talk
got
about
one.
these. I've got two.
I've got one.
Got two. They're great.
Georgia, not yet, right?
No, because I have
Imagine
the
being able to yell at your
HomePod.
kids.
But I have the HomePod, right? So I have two HomePods.
Mhm.
And now I'm like, I could put them, you know, they could be in other locations of the house, which I'm not against. So like, again, the holidays are coming up, and for such a low price,
Yes.
they're a wonderful gift.
Yes.
They really
No
are.
kidding.
They're
gotta
a
tell ya.
really good holiday gift if you're thinking of getting someone something.
I gotta tell you, so one of the things I found, I've had mine for 4 days now, and the thing that's impressed me most is and it was the thing I was worried about actually about the HomePod Mini, is the detail of the sound.
Huh.
They're a little quiet just overall, but there's a volume slider on the phone from which you can control them, or you can keep pressing the plus button to turn them up. But they're a perfect small room speaker. They're very detailed. They work great in a stereo pair, I will say that. And yeah, I'm very impressed.
You do have to plug them in, but I'm very impressed with the mobility of them. For shipping purposes, I ordered two, but my second one has not arrived yet. So right now I just move my HomePod mini from the kitchen to the bathroom when I take a shower, so I can listen to podcasts or audiobooks while I'm in the shower, move it back into the kitchen so I can listen to some music while I'm washing dishes or something. I love the simple mobility of it. It's so much easier. I know you can do that with the HomePods, but they feel so much more like a piece of furniture that you just want to keep in one place. You're not going to I have in my kitchen, it sits on a shelf next to my salt and pepper shaker. It's so small. I can just stick it anywhere as long as there's a plug within. What is this? Is it a 3-foot cable? Is that
No,
about
I
right?
think it's more. I think it's a 2-meter cable.
A
actually,
2-meter cable. Okay.
Yeah,
So that's like closer to 4 feet.
No, 6. It was 6-ish, 6, 7.
Really? Is it that long? Well, anyway, it's long enough, you know.
It's not a meter. It's longer than a meter. I know that much. Yeah.
So yeah, in terms of sound quality, Joe, you talked about it a little bit, that it's not quite as loud, but it's very clear and crisp sounding.
Yeah.
Have you tried turning them all the way up to loudest?
Not absolute loudest, but I've gotten them to be loud.
Yeah.
You know,
I purposefully, again, this was 1, not 2. I don't have them stereo paired. I wouldn't actually have them stereo paired because I'm going to have them in different rooms. But
Right.
I told Siri to turn it up to 100%, to which it responded, "That's kind of loud. Are you sure you want to go that loud?" And to which I said, "Yes." And then it was absolutely room filling without distorting, which is so, I mean, I'm talking 50%, and that will fill a 200 square foot room easily 250 square foot room. It'll fill it at 50%. You won't have to turn it up. But if you want to get crazy and party hard and you do turn it all the way up to 100%, that is something I noticed, is that at its absolute maximum volume, it's not too loud. It's not distorted. And like almost every other speaker out there of this size, as soon as you turn it up to the max amount, it blows out. It gets too distorted, and the low end gets really muddy. And this just does not happen with this. It keeps its balance all the way through the levels, all the way to max. And that's really impressive for sure.
That's really impressive.
Yeah. And I think it's overall, I do think the sound is more balanced even than the standard HomePod. The standard HomePod has always been a little bass heavy for my tastes, but not terrible, especially if you've got two big HomePods in a stereo pair. That really evens out a lot better. But this, it feels like a more even kind of sound, and just it's great. And it literally is the size of a softball.
Yeah.
It's
just
remember,
they're really, really tiny.
When I was like, no, it's not the size of a softball. As soon as I pulled it out of the box, I was like,
Turns
oh yeah,
out,
this is,
oh, crap,
this is,
it's a softball.
Yes, this is so much smaller.
I could overhand pitch this.
Yeah, exactly. Which that means that they didn't in the, when we've all watched this, they didn't do a great job of showing you how tiny they were. When I've played both sounds like opposite each other from like a mini to like the regular HomePod, I think that you're right. The bass is the big difference. One is much more bassy and a little bit more rich. But I was really impressed that such a small speaker system can give such rich sound. Like you wouldn't think it was this tiny little speaker producing that sound.
Exactly.
But I would love to hear this stereo.
Yeah, that me too. Joe, speak to that a little bit in terms of like.
I feel like two HomePods together, or two HomePod minis in a stereo pair, are a lot like one single standard HomePod in terms of just like fullness. It really worked. And one single HomePod on its own is great. The HomePod is a great speaker. So two HomePod minis together, I think that, you do get more. I think it is more a richer sound. It's a richer sound, and I love it. You get this effect, I think, and I found this on the HomePod minis and the regular HomePods, where if you're in a stereo pair and they are like set up next to each other in some configuration, they almost send the sound to a central point and then out in a certain way.
Yeah, well, that would absolutely make sense if that were if that's actually happening. That's not a surprise. Like we saw when the HomePod was first announced, we saw what Apple was talking about with like, sending those signals, recognizing the furniture in the room, and creating the most robust sound quality for that room, even if it was off to the side in one corner. So it being able to like direct a beam of sound that centers and then goes out, that makes complete sense. I believe that could be a thing.
Yeah, and also now I actually have HomePods in my room, so I can add them to automations for waking up. And that's the real winner here.
Yeah, because you can set alarms on HomePod.
You can set alarms on HomePod, and now with iOS 14, one of the things you can do is you can tie it into. You can actually set up automations through the Shortcuts app for the bed. Yeah, Joe, interested in a Shortcuts feature? Who would have thought? But yeah, you can set iOS 14 and WatchOS 7. They have the new bedtime feature with wind down and wake up and that sort of thing. So I now have these HomePods set to start playing when wake up occurs in my bedtime schedule.
Which is
yeah,
my favorite way of waking up is using the bedtime feature.
It's actually set to a specific piece of music called Dawn. So
that's perfect.
Yeah.
Have you actually set up this automation yet, or is this?
Yeah, no, I've set this up, and I experienced it for the first time this morning.
What was that like?
Great. It was great because I also have a light that a light that brightens up.
That's so good. The light that brightens up is so good, and then to have something kind of soothing to just let you know, dawn is breaking. Like it's not like that horrible trauma waking up.
And it's just this soft little like classical piece that it's a piano and some string that just comes in.
Love it.
At 6:30 before the sun is up.
Is it easy to set up? And do you have the shortcut already on iMore?
No, I don't have it already on my and because it's an automation. Because it's an automation.
Why
do you want to give me more work, Georgia? Where are you doing?
I'm sorry. I should have asked.
But yeah, I because it's an automation, you can't like directly share it, or I would have a link on iMore right now.
Right.
But yeah, it's very impressive. And one of the things I actually love about this is one of those automations where you can flick the button that says ask before running, so I can turn that off.
Oh,
and so it doesn't ask me before it starts this automation.
So you don't have to wake up.
It just does it.
Just to tell it that you want to run it.
Yeah, it's
because
not.
At that point, you're already awake.
Yeah,
Or you've slept through it.
It would be kind of like that scene on The Office. I like to wake up to the smell of bacon, so I wake up and I put bacon in the George Foreman grill, and then I go back to sleep, and then I wake up to the smell of bacon. It's not quite
and burning in your house. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I don't burn my foot too. Yeah. That's the other.
Right. Don't burn your foot. Don't burn your foot. That doesn't. Grilled foot's not good.
Yeah. So is it okay? So I want to set up this automation right now because I use the bedtime feature to wake up as well. And I have the same thing. I have a light that turns on and it starts out dim, and then over a 5-minute period of time it like goes to full. So if I was going to set up an automation right now, how would I do it?
Okay, so you're going to open the Shortcuts app.
Okay, so Shortcuts.
It's another learning corner.
I know. That's why I wanted to do this.
So you open the Shortcuts app, and then you hit automations, the central
the one in the
automation.
Middle.
Yeah, the one in the middle.
Got it.
And then you want to hit the plus in the upper right corner.
Okay.
And then create personal automation.
Okay.
And then it's in that first set of automation triggers. You want to hit sleep.
I see it.
And then you have 3 options: wind down begins, bedtime begins, and waking up.
Got it.
And so all of these are tied to that. So we'll hit waking up.
Got it.
And then hit next.
Okay.
Then you're going to hit add action.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to want to search for home. You're going to hit home, like as in the home app. And then you're going to...
I typed in the word home, and I didn't get the home app. I got my contacts app for some reason. So let me scroll down and try to
Or you could hit apps then.
Oh, let's see. Okay. Apps.
Yeah, go to the top of that list and hit apps, and then scroll down the list, and then it should be there.
Home. Got it.
And then do you have an option that says control whatever your home name is?
Yes.
So you want to hit that.
Okay.
And then in that action, you're going to want to hit the blue thing that says scenes and accessories.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're going to scroll down because see, I have a lot of scenes that I got to scroll down through.
Me too. Yeah,
and then you're going to want to find your HomePods, the HomePods you want to use for this. You want to tap that. And then I think...
Wait. Apparently my HomePod mini is not connected to my home yet.
No.
Yeah. Well, I'll delete this so we can get through this so other people who are listening aren't pissed off because we had to stop because I didn't have I wonder why it didn't automatically. Oh, because it's not in this room. Hold on. I was looking in the wrong room.
Oh, good. Okay.
No, it's still not there.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to use just my standard HomePods just so that we can kind of get through there. So I've just clicked on, or I've selected the HomePod.
Okay. And then you don't have an existing automation with your light, do you?
I do. It's in the Hue app though, not in the Home app.
Okay. So, but is the light in the Home app or in the Home app or the Shortcuts app? Is it accessible through those?
The light
is it on
itself?
the list? Yeah.
Let's see. That would be in my bedroom section, which would be, that light is accessible, but the automation is done through Hue because for some reason, I always struggle with connecting my automations, like that particular like low to bright. I have trouble connecting it with the Home app for some reason. So I don't even want to enable that one.
So, all right. So for people who are going to who want to use this with a light, so you're going to tap whatever light it is you want to use.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to hit next.
Okay.
And so now you have the HomePod, you have the light, and you want the light to turn on. And actually, what would be better is instead of just hitting the light, if you have a scene associated with the light that you want to use, like a particular one.
That would maybe do the thing where it goes from dim to bright or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
like the one I choose is called Forest because it's already like the maximum brightness for that is 50%.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to hit that. So I would suggest selecting a scene is probably best. So the light, if you don't want the light to just turn on.
Right. But it will, you can also set the, like if you just have the light bulb, you can also set it to turn on at 25% or something, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So what you can do in that case, this is actually will be real quick. So what you can do once you have done this, once you've set the scenes or accessories that you want to include in this automation, you tap and hold on the particular light, and then you've got this bar here, and you can
adjust
you can adjust
the percentage of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you tap and hold. That's how you access the settings for that light.
Like that.
Yeah.
And so you just pick the level you want it at which you want it to turn on.
Okay.
And so after you've done that, what you want to do is down here at the bottom of so I'm pointing out the bottom of the screen after you've picked your accessories. You want to hit audio. So it says it's media. You want to hit under media, you want to hit audio.
Got it.
And you want to choose if this is going to play audio, pause audio, resume, or adjust volume only.
Okay.
Excuse me. So we want this to play audio, so we leave it on the default option.
Got it.
And then we can choose if we want this to go, or if we want this to play at the current volume set for the HomePod or at a custom volume.
So I'm going to guess you want to set a custom volume, because what if last time you played the HomePod, it was up
at
loud.
100.
Yeah. 100%. So you want to set a custom volume probably.
So you can hit custom volume, and then you've just got the volume slider, and you can choose where that goes.
Got it. Okay.
And then what you want to do is you want to hit choose audio in the center there. And then this will take you to a music app interface. And you can go and you can search, you can go through your library, you can enter your password for your Apple Music account every time.
Oh, that's frustrating.
Yeah. I find that one second. I find that you just got to give it like a minute, and if it doesn't do anything, you can just hit cancel, and it doesn't seem to have a problem with that.
Okay.
If it doesn't just accept your password, you can just kind of get rid of it.
I didn't have to put my password in, so that was.
It asks me every time because I am cursed. So you just get your thing.
I selected the never-ending story as my opening.
That's a great choice.
Refreshing way to wake up.
So we have our thing, and now.
Oh, and then it lets you decide. It lets you customize that if you want to have it repeat over and over again.
Yeah,
or if you
add something else
selected an
too.
album, you can choose to shuffle the songs. So that's nice.
Yeah, and now we go back.
Okay.
Hit the back button. Now that we've selected how our media is going to work, and then we just hit done.
Okay.
And then we hit next.
Okay.
And so we've got when waking up, do set one scene and one accessory. And now we've got this last little bit, this ask before running switch. We want to turn that off.
Yes.
Because we don't like to wake up to the smell of bacon. And then just hit don't ask.
Got it.
And then you hit done.
Done.
And
then
you're good.
I can test this automation right now, right?
Yeah, just hit. Can you?
Maybe not.
Yeah. There should be a test button, but I don't actually think they have one.
That's okay. Well, it's I made one. I'm going to disable it for me because I don't want my HomePods in the living room to turn on at 6 o'clock in the morning when I wake up, because that's not going to work for me. So that also assumes, by the way, that you have the bedtime feature enabled, which you set up in the health app. So for anybody who just went through these steps, if you don't see that ability to use the wake up as an option, it's probably because you haven't set up your bedtime schedule in the health app yet. So you want to do that first. And we do have that how-to guide on iMore. We'll link it in the show notes. Yeah. All right. So we've got a little bit more to talk about, but before we go through that, Joe, do you have anything special you want to talk about right now?
Yeah, I do. So that thing is this week's episode of the iMore show is brought to you by Woven. Woven is the all-in-one calendar that's perfect for busy people. It brings all of your calendars in one place and powers them up with awesome scheduling tools. Woven syncs all of your calendars in one place, including your Google, G Suite, and Microsoft 365 accounts, so you can see all of your time, both personal and professional. Woven builds scheduling links directly into your calendar, so you can use both one-off scheduling links and published scheduling links. You can even create group polls if you need to find the best time for several people's schedules, which is great at a large organization. If you can quickly time block your week, you can quickly time block your week using Woven smart templates so you can plan your perfect week. Woven also has built-in analytics so you can easily calculate where you spend your time so you can make time for what matters most. You can try Woven Premium for free for 21 days when you go to usewoven.com/iMore. That's usewoven.com/IMORE for free 21 days of Woven.
All right. Thank you to Woven for being the sponsor of this week's episode of the iMore Show. Fantastic. So let's move on to the other big news of the week. Probably, I would say the biggest news for developers in the last 15 years.
Shocking. It's shocking news though, right? Like this is one of the things that we have spoken about and been like, this is never going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then it did.
Then it did. It's something that we've discussed of the issues around the percentage that Apple takes from developers and what they could do. And, we're just like being armchair CEOs saying what we think they should do. But, there's reasons why Apple has done and not done the things that they've done in the past. But yesterday, 2 days ago, Apple announced that it is going to cut the percentage that it takes from developers that make less than $1 million. So I guess we can talk about a little bit about that, the details of the 1 million, like what's that threshold? What does that mean? It's down to 15% for those people. So here's the press release announcement. Apple today announces an industry-leading new developer program to accelerate innovation and help small businesses and independent developers propel their business forward with the next generation of groundbreaking apps on the App Store. The new App Store Small Business Program will benefit the vast majority of developers who sell digital goods and services on the store, providing them with a reduced commission on paid apps and in-app purchases. Developers can qualify for the program and a reduced 15% commission if they earn up to $1 million in proceeds during the previous calendar year. There we go. That's what that's about. So it launches on January 1st, 2021. So if you are a developer who made less than $1 million in 2020,
which is what they consider a small developer.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Then in 2021, you can apply for to be a part of the App Store Small Business Program that will allow you to only have to pay 15% instead of 30% to Apple for fees and services for the program.
Yeah, this is huge. This is going to affect most developers that make money directly through the App Store, not through like ads. So this isn't really going to impact apps that are free but make money through advertising and selling your information. And
because they don't pay 15% of anything because they're not paying.
They don't pay anything
80% of anything, right?
But if you're a small calendar app or a game that isn't super popular, but it's popular, like say among a certain set, or you're a podcast app, this is going to be huge. This is going to be huge for you. This is unequivocally a good move by Apple. And
yes,
it's making a certain set of people really mad. And
so before the mad people, because I know, Joe, you are going
there are a lot of mad
people. Go speak a little bit about this, rant maybe. But the cool part is that if you say that you make $1 million over $1 million 1 year, and then the next year you don't, you can still apply. Like this is really, dependent upon your business. It's not like once you've made $1 million over $1 million. that then you're kind of out of this. If the business, doesn't do as well another year, Apple will then take a smaller percentage so you can bring more home, which I think is life-changing for app developers, which is cool because they usually take, for those that don't know, like there's a 30% commission.
Yeah. And according to Sense Tower, this reduction will impact 98% of Apple's developers that pay a commission. And there is a note that 84% of developers don't pay a commission at all. So 98% of those that do pay a commission will drop down to only 15%. And so that's less than 5% of Apple's App Store revenue. It's pretty major for those companies. And honestly, this might even encourage developers to get away from that sell your data ideology, because that's the only way they feel like they can actually make a decent amount of money. You might see some developers that are going to choose to go with the commission base and, charge $1.99, $2.99, $3.99, whatever for their app, instead of giving it away for free, while also participating in some kind of a data exchange program where they get money for that.
Or they do both. But yeah,
they might do both. You're right. That's very possible.
But some people aren't happy though.
Yeah.
Are there some people that are not? Because this sounds really across the board good, Joe. So what?
And there are some, there's some pain points that can get worked out over time. But I would say the right people are mad, and that's always. And when I say right people, I mean rich people. Rich people are mad. So here's the deal. So this only applies to as we said, to developers who make less than $1 million in the previous calendar year on the App Store. So obviously this does not apply to developers that make over $1 million a year in the past calendar year on the App Store. So the people, the two big names in app development that we're talking about this, it was DHH of what's the actual company name? Not Campsite. The developers of Hey, the email app.
Basecamp.
Basecamp.
Yeah.
Campsite. And then also
you're close.
our good friend Tim Sweeney of Epic.
And I think Spotify might have put their
name the coalition for app fairness was really out in force on Wednesday.
Coalition for app fairness.
Oh yeah, this is a group. This is a group of developers that's formed to protest Apple's policies on the App Store, and they talk about app stores in general, but this is about Apple's App Store, and we all know it. And don't try to lie and say otherwise, guys.
But they're for the little person. They're trying to help.
They're for the little millionaire. That's what's so onerous to me about their entire argument is they talk about how, Apple's this $2 trillion company and they're dividing the developer community, and they're taking 150, even if we paid 15%, they're still taking $150,000. Good problem to have if $150,000, by the way, is your 15%. Basecamp. Here's the thing.
How you feel, Joe?
Mad. So there's nothing that gets my hackles up quite like rich people complaining about being not as rich as they could be.
Right. Because what about them? What about them, Joe?
Because here's the thing.
What about the rich people?
It's absolutely true. Apple's a $2 trillion company, and they, but Tim Sweeney over at Epic, who's comparing his struggle to the civil rights movement. Tim.
So can you, because this is true. This is not you saying this, Joe. This really happened. Just for those that are thinking that Joe's just speaking metaphorically.
No, this is literally what happened.
When we talk about being tone deaf.
And he doubled down. This
isn't
just.
Did he? Okay,
he didn't say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I misspoke, and you're right. I shouldn't have done this." Like he should have said. No, instead, no. It really is like the civil rights movement. That's what. Here's the thing. Once you're at a certain level of income, you're just a different level of rich. So no, you're not a $2 trillion company, but you're still rich, and you're just a different level of rich.
Let's just say it at that level. Like when you have that much money, it might be like just how many Lamborghinis can I buy?
Yeah.
Or I don't even,
Yeah.
it's probably so much, how many houses in the Cayman Islands can I buy? It's just you can only live in one at a time. But anyway.
Do I care if you can only buy 3 Lamborghinis while Apple can buy 200? No, I actually don't. You're still buying 3 Lamborghinis. What does it matter to me?
Right.
You're not sticking up for the little guy. You're sticking up for yourself. Like,
no, in fact, if anything, they're like trying to like oppress the little guy because they want this sort of like the fairness, which what you're talking about is like the fair app store policy thing or whatever. Like they want they would rather stomp the little person into the mud so that everybody's equal in that way in order to like not like to like maintain I don't know what.
this one was hilarious to me. So Tim Sweeney said when asked, "Oh, maybe an 8% cut for the App Store would be fair." The Epic Game Store charges 12% and doesn't provide any more to the developers that go through the Epic Game Store than than Apple does to the developers that go through the App Store.
Right.
You should take a smaller cut than us. We're going to keep it at 12, but you should 8. 8 sounds fair.
Yeah.
And then you've got DHH on Twitter comparing the App Store to a payment processor, which that's great. That's your position, that you don't need the marketing, the support, apparently the developer tools, everything that smaller developers need out of the App Store. That's great that you don't need that, but a lot of people do. So it's not just a payment processor to them. Apple's actually providing value and a service to smaller developers that you don't need to take advantage of. You don't need the App Store feature story. Sure, that's great because you had a great media campaign to try to force Apple to cave and let your app on the App Store. And they did. Good job. You won. Let me make a suggestion to these $1 million+ developers that are
who are upset.
Who are upset about this. Why don't you spend some of that $1 million+ on a set of the world's tiniest violins? And just play your sad song for somebody else, because I ain't hearing it.
And on that note, I think we have come down to the end of the iMore show. And honestly, this is the perfect way to end this show. Bravo, Joe. This was beautiful. That was very good. Oh, this has been another episode of the iMore show. Actually, before I go, Stephen Perry in the chat asked how you're new to using Siri on your on your speaker, and 50 the percentage is how I use it. Sometimes I'll just tell Siri to just turn it down or turn it up. That works too. But if you want to get to an approximate level, then use a percentage to do that. If you're asking Siri, it's the same way that it works on your phone. It's a little bit complicated and a little bit confusing because Siri's pretty bad at understanding things like, I think yesterday I had said play. I think my request was to play dark wave music, and it played a song called Dark Wave or something like that. I was like, no, that's not what I'm talking about. So you got to learn what Siri understands. It can be a little frustrating, but yes, this has been another episode of the iMore show. And I love the way this ended. So thank you, Joe, for bringing this around like this. That was really great. Thank you to Jim Metzendorf for all that you do for us, for making us sound so good and so smooth, buttery smooth. Thank you to everybody who joined us live. We do podcast every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern time if we're doing things on time. So thank you. When you join us live, you can follow us on YouTube, the youtube.com/the iMore show or /iMore show, and subscribe, and then hit the notification button so that you will be notified when we go live. If you can't watch us live, that's okay. It's available on YouTube after the fact, so we don't take it down after we're done recording, but we do record this so that we can put it up on iTunes and other podcast things. So if you're listening to us after the fact, thank you for all of the people that listen to us. We really do love that you come around and you listen and you give us the feedback. We read all of that. You can email us, you can chat with us on the iMore show live. We're in love with it. It's a wonderful way for us to stay engaged with you. And we are coming down to the end of the year too. So we got maybe more Apple stuff in the future, in the immediate future, maybe not.
Someone's
Joe's
saying
Joe's
December
begging no.
surprise.
Yeah. What's the December surprise? I guess we're gonna have to find that out. So stay tuned, because maybe there's a December surprise that we need to talk about. And have a great rest of your week, great weekend, great next week. And thank you for listening. This has been the iMore Show.